What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Go check out my other videos. Check them out. Check them out. But first, stay on this one. This one is a pretty important video, especially for those who haven't bought firearms prior in their lifetime. Or maybe some of y'all who are just looking for a guide of a better way to buy firearms. Now, let's get right into it. No more beating, no more beating around the bush. You saw the thumbnail. You read the title. Uh, 3 things to do before you buy any firearm, let alone your first firearm. 1, and this is the most important one out of all of them, make sure your bills are paid. Don't sit there and drop a ton of money on a gun and then, oh, rent's due in a week. You don't have the money now. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't go into debt buying guns. Don't sit there and you see memes all the time of guys talking about, oh yeah, when you take your girl's card to the gun store, don't do any of that, because truth of the matter is that if you're in that much of a position where you can't financially afford firearms, I'm not against you owning firearms. I'm against you spending a ton of money you don't have on it. You can save up a couple $100, get yourself a reliable but cheap gun like a Taurus G2C or something, and be good until you have more money to get a better firearm. That's the truth of the matter here. You don't need to spend a ton of money, that you're not going to be able to pay back or that isn't yours just because you want a gun. All right, let's get that out the way. You don't need, to spend $1,000 on the, on the new Taran Tactical Canic that came out, just because you want a gun. That's not what you need to do here. You need to make sure that all your bills are paid and that you can financially afford it. That's for starters, and I know that should go without saying, guys, but truth be told, there's labels on shirts that say wash with children outside of it. So, you got to say it sometimes. But that's just number 1. Let's go ahead and move on to number 2. Number 2, and this is also extremely important, not as important as the first one, but very important as well, kind of goes hand in hand with the first one. These all will go hand in hand a tiny bit, and you'll see why. Do your own research. Don't sit there and just, oh, I think this gun looks cool, or this gun feels good in my hand. Do your own research on what kind of firearm you should get, what kind of firearm do you need, what will be best for the applications you want to use it for, and then look around for the best options that are based around what would be best for the applications you're using it for. It is a process. I'm aware of that, and I'm aware that it takes time and sometimes energy that some people don't have. However, if that is purely your problem and you just don't have the time or energy to go ahead and just, put in some thought and research into what firearm you want to get, at least get something like a Glock, something that should work. Now, that's personally just my thought on if you're not going to. But in all reality, if you are a smart buyer, just like how you would spend time researching what kind of car you're going to buy, or researching what kind of neighborhood what kind of neighborhood the new house you might be buying is in, you also want to do research on the firearm you're considering buying, because it's a tool to defend your life. You don't want to sit there and just buy a gun based off the price. You don't want to sit there and buy a gun just based off how it looks or how it feels, because then guess what? You're going to get burned in the end. I've seen it time and time and time and time again. And it's something that, truth be told, is easily avoidable just by doing some research. And you don't have to sit there and read articles and, kind of feel like a nerd while you're doing it. In all reality, you can just watch YouTube videos. And while some people are going to argue, oh, gun YouTubers aren't a reliable source of information, sure, but when you see that every gun YouTuber is praising this gun with zero malfunction, some of them are performing 1,000-round reviews on these guns, then yeah, eventually you can start to believe over time that this is going to be a good firearm. This is a good firearm to get into or to buy. You know what I mean? That research will give you so much more knowledge on what you would need, what you should get, and why you would need it. It's phenomenal what research can do for you when it comes to buying a firearm, whether it's your first firearm or not. Now, that's number 2. Number 1, as I said before, was making sure you can pay your bills. Now, what would number 3 be? All right. Number 3, and this one I believe is something that most people tend to fail when it comes to the gun buying process, and they tend to just not listen. However, it's something that solely falls back on you alone. And this is where people, are going to get upset with me, but I'm going to point it out here. Do not let someone else's opinion affect your decision, and affect, or not even affect, but make you ignore the knowledge that you've acquired from the research you've done. Don't let someone's opinion change your opinion on something, especially if your opinion is based in research and cold hard fact. Now, I'm sure there are some firearms where it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm thinking about getting this because I think it looks cool. Oh, well, I mean, I personally don't think it looks cool. Here's why. Oh yeah, when you point that out, yeah, it kind of does look bad. You know what? Maybe I won't get it. Something like that's not what I'm referring to. What I'm referring to is, you'll see the gun store employee that, sees a single mom coming up to the counter, and she's like, hey, I just want to get a firearm to defend my home. I want to get a Glock 17 or a Glock 19, and perfectly reasonable guns to get. And he's like, you know what? No, what you actually need is a pink-handled Taurus revolver. Or better yet, you need a Chanel Blue SCCY. Or better yet, you need a SIG P365, but the extremely small variants. Now, here's the thing, guys, is that I'm sure with, for example, like the SIG P365, I've seen some solid reviews on it. I've also seen some really bad issues with it, but that's not the point. Not as bad as the P320. But don't let someone else's opinion or what someone else thinks that you should have persuade what you want to get, especially when the knowledge you have shows you this is what I should get. If I am sitting here saying, you know what, let's say, for example, I don't know exactly if, law enforcement departments are doing this, but, let's say you get hired as a cop, right? And your department's like, oh, well, you need to go ahead and get your own firearm. Okay, yeah, sure. Go to the store. Oh, I want to get a Glock 17. Oh, why would you want a Glock? You can get a 1911 instead. They won 2 world wars, all this other stuff, and you get it, and then you end up getting persuaded into getting a gun that's not going to be best for what you need. Don't let someone else's opinion change, or not even just change your aspect on the gun you're thinking about getting, but don't let someone else's opinion make you ignore the facts and the knowledge and the research that you've done. That's something that I see way too often, and it kind of just feels like people aren't really thinking about that here. It's something that's very easily avoidable. It solely falls on you, and if you became victim to this, it's because you don't have the backbone to tell them, no, this is what I want. That's simply it. If you go to a gun store and they keep insisting on selling you this specific gun instead of the gun you want, you simply tell them, I want this particular gun. If you're not going to sell it to me, I'm going to go somewhere else and buy it there. That's it. If they're going to sit there and keep playing around, leave. That's just the best way to go about it. Now, all three of these mistakes are mistakes that are very common. I see them a lot in the firearm community, and pretty much all of these can be avoided with just common sense decision making. Don't spend money you don't have. Do your research on what you do want to spend your money on. And don't let someone else's opinion make you ignore the research that you've done. Plain and simple. I think that about wraps it up for this video. Y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all. And because you agree with me, make sure to check out all my other videos. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.